Helljumpers. Epilogue. Equus.
Twitchy tail, twitchy tail, twitchy tail!
Fire licked the hull of the Pelican as it re-entered Equus's atmosphere.
Temperature within acceptable parameters.
Scootaloo reported from her seat as she carefully kept the dropship balanced throughout the re-entry.
What's our position?
Twilight asked as the flames around the cockpit died down.
If the surface scans are correct, we're above the Everfree right now, heading 330 towards the settlement, which should be Ponyville. ETA 15 minutes.
Scootaloo said as she adjusted her course to the northeast.
We should look for a clearing either in the Everfree or in one of the Sweet Apple Acres fields. I'd like to avoid a panic in Ponyville proper.
Twilight said as she unstrapped herself from the co-pilot's chair and walked to the cargo hold. The transmitter that they had gotten from HiCom that could link up with an orbital communication relay was strapped to the floor, alongside a set of solar panels to power them. Twilight walked up to a weapons locker and opened it. Usually Pelicans would be stocked with equipment, but this time the locker only held 2 SMGs, a Magnum, and a sniper rifle. She dug through the ammo supplies that they had gotten, 2 boxes of ammo for every weapon respectively. One with sharp ammo and the other with stun rounds and a magazine of blanks on Scootaloo's request. Twilight picked the Magnum off the rack and inserted a magazine with stun rounds into it before holstering it on her dress suit. Twilight remembered the reaction the elites had when they had entered the system. It had just been daybreak and Equestrian Celestia was in the process of raising the sun, and Luna was lowering the moon. It had taken all of Twilight's persuasion power to convince the elites that neither of the princesses were a god.
I seriously hope we're not going to be visited by a bunch of Sang-Heli cultists in the near future.
The second thing the sunrise did was confirm the theory that Twilight had made up months ago. Celestia didn't move the sun, but rotated the planet. Though there were also some things that she hadn't expected. Before the princess had rotated the planet, it had been in a tidal lock with its star, just as the moon's orbit was rapidly decaying until either princess corrected their rotation speed and orbit respectively. It had taken 6 hours of spaceflight after that to get to the planet, as Twilight didn't want the elites to perform an inter-system jump because she wasn't sure what the effects would be of a slip-space transition on the local magic field. Twilight felt the Pelican decelerating, dragging her mind out of her theory as she made her way back to the cockpit.
Where'd you put us down?
She asked, as she saw rows of bare apple trees covered by snow, neatly lined up in front of the landed Pelican.
At the edge of the southern field. There were about 24 meters of clear ground between the Everfree and the orchard.
Scootaloo replied, as she pushed a couple of buttons.
Powering down!
She announced, as the craft stopped making noise as the turbine stopped spinning.
Do you think they heard us come down?
Twilight asked Scootaloo, as she got out of her flight chair and put on her helmet, earning an eye roll from Twilight.
What? It looks cool!
Scootaloo said, as she noticed the Alicorn's gesture.
And no, I don't think so. Maybe a couple of Pegasi saw our re-entry, but I ran her on minimal sound, so I'd be impressed if anyone noticed our return. It's a doozy! It's a doozy!
A certain pink pony was shouting, as she hopped through her place of employment.
In that case, we should go surprise our friends.
Twilight said, as she lowered the ramp of the Pelican, the cold outside air flowing into the ship. Scootaloo quickly opened the weapons locker and attached an SMG to one side of her barrel, and attached a saddlebag to the other. Before stepping outside, Twilight made a quick mental calculation.
We were out of contact for less than a month, and the slip-space jump took a week, so if I'm correct, we should be in the middle of the last school week before the heartwarming vacation.
She told Scootaloo.
We should probably split up. I want to check on my friends and parents while you should go find Apple Bloom, Sweetie, Octavia, and Vinyl. Yeah, I know.
Scootaloo said, trying to sound annoyed to hide her fear, but failing.
Scootaloo, we talked about this a week ago. I'm sure they'll be glad to have you back no matter how you look.
Twilight told the filly, as she covered her with her wing.
I know, but I'm still scared anyway, Twilight.
Scootaloo said.
What if they think I'm a monster? I mean, I alone have a larger kill count than the entirety of the Equestrian army had in the First Griffin conflict, which I need to remind you is the bloodiest conflict in pony history. Scootaloo, we both have done and seen things that we'll probably never speak about again. But our situation was much worse than a medieval equestrian war.
Twilight told the filly.
No, we've let our friends wait for long enough, haven't we? Yeah, I'll take everyone to Sugar Cube Corner after I visited everyone I wanted to visit.
Scootaloo said, as she flared her wings.
I'll see you in a bit.
Twilight looked at the filly as she flew off for a moment, before she took off towards Applejack's house as it was the closest of her 5 friends. The air blew past Scootaloo's ears as she flew towards the schoolhouse. She could see that the building was covered with heartwarming decorations. She landed in front of the large door that would lead into the hallway and walked up to it.
Here goes nothing,
she thought, as she took hold of the door handle and quickly entered the building as to not let in too much cold air.
Miss Shirley, can we leave early? It's almost heartwarming and Mom promised to help make me muffins after I got back.
Scootaloo heard Dinky say, bringing a smile to her helmeted face.
Sorry, Dinky. Class already stops early today, so I'm not letting you fillies go even sooner.
Scootaloo dared to look around the corner of the door into the class. Everyone was focused on Cheerly as she wrote something down on the chalkboard at the front of the classroom.
Now, class, we still have to cover some physics before we can end this day.
The entire class awed, making Scootaloo snicker. She would have given the same reaction if she was sitting in the class. She took the time to look at all the other fillies in the class, her eyes halting at Diamond Tiara, who was holding a straw aiming a spitwad at Apple Bloom.
Oh no, you fucking don't.
She thought, a devious plan coming to the forefront of her mind. She quickly grabbed her SMG, loading the blank rounds into the machine gun, and taking off the suppressor before she took off her helmet as well. And then she fired. Every pony in the class jumped up and screamed as they heard the very loud sound, Scootaloo being the exception as she was used to the sound of gunfire, and was too busy glaring at the spoiled filly anyway.
Who dared to...
She said in a rage, but stopped as she saw the Pegasus giving her a death glare, which was only made more effective by the massive scar that she had gotten from the energy blade plastered onto her face.
You never change, do you?
She asked in a monotone voice as she flicked on the safety and reattached the gun to her barrel. She turned away from the dumbstruck filly, looking straight into the eyes of both Sweetie Belle and Apple Bloom.
Scootaloo?
Apple Bloom stuttered. Scootaloo's ears went flat against her head.
Hi, girls.
She said, her nerves returning with a vengeance. Before she could say anything else, she was caught in a hug.
We've missed you so much. Our sisters told you that you were alive but didn't tell us anything else.
Sweetie cried into Scootaloo's shoulder.
I guess something like that.
Scootaloo said, relieved that her friends didn't hate her, but it brought up another challenge as in how to tell them what happened.
Scoots, how'd you get that scar?
Apple Bloom asked as she released the hug.
And there's the question.
Scootaloo sighed.
Boarding of the stalwarts on, but I think I should wait to tell you that story with Twilight and your sisters. I don't really want to have to tell that more than once.
She said while looking at the ground.
Are we just going to ignore that loud explosion that just happened?
Diamond Tiara shouted, as she had recovered from her original shock. Scootaloo let out a short laugh.
Loud? That was nothing. SMGs are relatively silent in comparison to other rifles as it uses subsonic ammo. Also, you're an irrelevant ass. Shut up.
Diamond Tiara was baffled by the brash way Scootaloo had shot her down.
What? But I...
She shouted, as she sat back down on her bench and pouted.
Scootaloo, watch your language.
Cheerily berated the Pegasus as she finally spoke up, the entire class having erupted into whispering.
Sorry, ma'am. Soldiers don't really care about your language use most of the time.
She told her teacher, while she could see Rumble eyeing her armor.
You know you could just ask, right?
She told him, as she turned her head to look him in the eyes.
What are you wearing and how exactly did you make that loud noise?
He nervously asked. Scootaloo stood up and walked back to the hallway where she picked up her helmet and walked back to Rumble.
It's ODST battle armor,
she said as she passed the helmet to the Colt.
Here, try it on. It's really cool.
Rumble put on the helmet and Scootaloo tapped the commands into the console on her foreleg, which activated the HUD in the helmet. Scootaloo's classmates gasped as the visor turned opaque.
Wow, this is awesome, but what does it all mean?
He asked as he looked around in wonder.
Also, this thing is heavy. Yeah, it is,
Scootaloo said, as she detached the SMG once again. She could see Diamond Tiara flinching.
At the top of the visor, you can see the compass, and on the bottom left, you can see how many grenades are currently attached to my armor. It says 0 on all of them,
Rumble observed.
Of course there's 0. I'm not gonna walk around Ponyville with a bunch of explosives.
Apple Bloom seemed to twitch.
I don't think I heard you correctly. Scoots, did you say explosives?
Scootaloo just shrugged.
Yep.
And continued to explain the HUD.
On the bottom right, you can see this thing.
She held up her SMG.
It's the ammo counter for this weapon. Wait, did you say weapon?
Rumble gasped as he took off the helmet and sat it down next to him. Scootaloo sighed once again.
Yeah, I'm trained to use anything I can get my hooves on, but I specialized in using this type. This one is loaded with blanks. They just make a loud sound, but aren't dangerous. What happened to you when you were gone?
Apple Bloom asked as she put a hoof on Scootaloo's shoulder. The Pegasus teared up, as flashes of memories of various friends and colleagues that she lost got to the forefront of her mind.
Cortana, Chief, Johnson, Zoe, Mac. Scoots, you're crying!
Sweetie said, bringing her attention back to the class.
Sorry, I was just remembering a couple of friends that I made.
She replied, as she wiped the tears from her eyes.
Anyways, I'm gonna find Mom and Vinyl. Twilight and I are supposed to rendezvous at Sugar Cube Corner after we gathered everyone. You two are also invited.
Scootaloo put her helmet back on, turned around, and trotted out of the schoolhouse towards Ponyville Central. Twilight landed in front of the large red barn standing next to the Apple family's home. The doors were open, so Twilight assumed someone was inside because no Apple would leave the door open to prevent animals from getting into the stored food.
Applejack?
She asked as she stood in the middle of the barn. She heard rumbling coming from the cellar.
Give me a couple seconds, I'll be right up.
Twilight could hear the oblivious Earth Pony shout. Twilight grinned as she sat down, waiting for the Earth Pony to appear. Then, the hatch to the cellar opened up.
So, who can I help? Twilight?
She shouted, as she grabbed the alicorn in a hug.
The girls and I were really concerned when Dash said that she had lost you in the dream world. I guess that, but we had to leave on really short notice, so we couldn't take a nap to tell Rainbow about our situation.
Twilight said, as she pried herself loose from the Earth Pony to get some fresh air.
I'll tell you about it with the other girls. There's no point in repeating the same story a bazillion times. I guess not.
Applejack chuckled as she walked to the barn door.
Ear flop, eye flutter, knee twitch.
Someone screamed as the farm pony had her hooves on the door.
What the?
She managed to say, before the door hit her squarely in the face.
Oh my gosh, Applejack, are you alright? My pinky sensed an ear flop, eye flutter, knee twitch, which means to look out for the opening doors, and I was running towards so fast that I couldn't stop.
Pinkie Pie shouted as she almost stood on top of Applejack.
I'm alright, Pinky. You have to come with me, Applejack. I was working at Sugar Cube Corner, and suddenly I had these shutters, and I was like, a doozy, a doozy! So something really unexpected was going to happen, and I still don't know what, and...
Applejack pushed her hoof into Pinkie's muzzle to shut her up.
I'm pretty sure your doozy is standing 2 meters behind us.
Pinkie looked past AJ and gasped as she saw Twilight sitting on her flanks, a goofy grin plastered on her face.
Twilight!
She shouted as well, and flung herself towards the alicorn, which startled Twilight. In a reflexive action, she swiped out the legs from beneath the Earth Pony and landed on top of her, holding Pinkie down into the ground.
Wow, Twilight, you're just as strong as Applejack.
Pinkie said with an unwavering smile. Twilight blushed as she realized what she just did.
Oh, sorry, Pinky, you startled me.
She sheepishly said, as she helped her friend back up onto her hooves.
Don't worry, Twilight. I must have brought back super doopy scary memories back.
The party mare said, as she kept smiling.
I already told the other girls to come to Sugar Cube Corner, and Applejack was the last bunny I had to collect, before we could start figuring out what the doozy meant, but that's not important now, because you're here and... Oh my gosh, I have to start planning a welcome home to Equestria Twilight and Scoodle party!
Before the pink pony could run off, Twilight grabbed her in her levitation.
Calm down, Pinky. We'll have a party, but I want to visit my parents, friends, and the princesses first. Okie dokie, Twilight.
Pinkie replied, as she somehow escaped from the levitation field and trotted outside again.
I guess we'll head for Sugar Cube Corner then?
Applejack offered. Twilight nodded and the two headed outside after Pinkie.
It's actually quite convenient that you brought the girls to Sugar Cube Corner. And Scoodle is going to bring your friends and parents there after visiting them to hook back up with us. Speaking of that, Philly, how is she?
A loud but distant sound came from the direction of the schoolhouse.
If that Pegasus fire to live round anywhere near that schoolhouse, Tartarus is going to look like a vacation resort.
Twilight thought, as she connected the sound to the firing of an unsuppressed SMG.
What in tarnation was that? And did that sound come from the schoolhouse?
Applejack asked, as she was now on high alert. Twilight held out a wing as a gesture for the Earth Pony to calm down.
Scoodler should be somewhere over there right now. I'm sure she can handle anything thrown at her. Me being the notable exception. Alright, Twa. If y'all are sure about that, then I trust you.
Applejack said as she continued walking towards Ponyville, occasionally glancing in the direction of the schoolhouse. Within Ponyville itself, Twilight got a plethora of surprised glances, but also a lot of ponies that had been concerned after the library incident, which Twilight soon learned was when her portal had destroyed the tree and damaged the surrounding buildings. Applejack moved ahead, as they arrived at Sugar Cube Corner where Pinkie was standing outside.
Did you tell them yet?
Twilight asked the bubbly mare.
Nope.
Pinkie replied and hopped into the building. Applejack just shrugged at the pink mare's antics and trotted inside after her.
Pinkie, what's this about? I really have to get some sleep as I have to take a night shift with the bats tonight.
Twilight could hear Rainbow complain.
I'm sure Pinkie brought us here for a reason, darling. Didn't you, Pinkie?
She heard Rarity say to Rainbow.
Yep.
Pinkie exclaims, but didn't say anything else after that.
What is it, Pinkie?
Fluttershy's soft voice just barely made it outside.
I think it's better if you just saw it.
Applejack replied to the shy mare, Twilight taking it as her cue to enter the store.
Hello, girls.
She said. The jaws of the three ponies that were still unaware of the fact that Twilight had returned dropped to the floor.
Twilight!
They exclaimed simultaneously, as both Rarity and Fluttershy, who were standing closest to the door, embraced the alicorn in a hug.
Darling, we missed you so much.
Rarity said, as she pulled out of the hug and inspected Twilight's suit.
Twilight, I must say your suit is fabulous, but did it have to be black? I mean, white would be a lot less depressing.
Twilight snickered at Rarity's analysis.
White suits would be for the Navy and Marines. My black one is because I'm part of the ODSTs.
She explained.
I'm really glad that you're okay, Twilight.
Fluttershy said in her distinctively soft tone, but before Twilight could respond, Dash spoke up.
Twi, where's Goodaloo? She's somewhere in Ponyville right now, gathering Sweetie, Apple Bloom, Vinyl, and Octavia.
Twilight answered, Dash immediately shooting towards the exit, past Applejack, who tried to get a hold of her tail but failed. Twilight's telekinesis yielded different results though. The alicorn seriously underestimated the amount of magical power that she had, and accidentally smashed the Pegasus into the floor.
Oh no, Rainbow, are you alright? I'm not used to Ecos's magic field anymore. I'm alright, Twi, I just want to find that filly, so could you please let me go?
Rainbow said, annoyed, while she was still being levitated by Twilight.
Sorry, Rainbow, but Scoodler said that she'd come here after finding her friends and parents. Something she has to do all on her own. You'll have to wait for a bit longer.
Twilight apologized, but didn't release the grumbling Pegasus. The door of the store burst open as three fillies burst into the room.
Applejack Rarity! Skittler just came by class!
Sweetie Belle shouted, as she spotted the 2 older ponies in the room.
And she had this sort of thing that made this very loud sound.
Applebloom continued.
She said it was a weapon of some sort.
Rumple finished for the Earth Pony. Twilight stepped forward to the 3 fillies, who stood slack-jawed as they saw the alicorn.
What exactly did she say she had, and why is Rumple with the 2 of you? She said it was an SMG, and that she fired something she called a blank.
Twilight immediately relaxed, assured the Pegasus had fired a blank and not a live round.
Still not getting out of that without consequences. And Rumple here is an Initiate Crusader.
Sweetie happily squeaked, as Rumple stepped forward again.
Scootaloo said that she was gonna tell the others what happened, and since I'm also a Crusader, now they thought I should come too.
Twilight sighed. Telling Applebloom and Sweetie Belle was gonna be hard enough.
Alright, Rumble, but you have to ask Thunderlane for permission first because we're heading off to Canterlot soon. Wait, what?
Rarity asked, dumbfounded.
Darling, the snow has crippled the trains and it's already getting dark, so if we leave now, we would arrive somewhere tomorrow.
Twilight started laughing. The others looked strangely at the alicorn.
Twilight, what's so funny? If you could tell us, please, that would be nice.
Fluttershy asked her.
It's because we're not taking the train, Shy. So what are we taking then?
Rainbow asked. Twilight just put an evil grin onto her face.
You'll just have to ask Scootaloo when she gets here.
What better way to get to Canterlot than a pelican? I mean, it's way more efficient than the train by a long shot, so why wouldn't you take it? Now let's get on to our efficient donators. Top donators: TacoCat598, Peter Coulthard, J Tin Man, Darkside, and Only One Thing. Zar630, Rayden, Narwhals, Blackmoonheart, Pastel Skies, Austin Rollins, CrazyKiller557, Stu Hex, Will, Omicron Lyrae, Chris, dospo, Delta Omega, Jack Hadge, RuneCipher9852, Madman Stan, Leslie Prickett, Drake Lovedragon, Hudson Norman, Stephen Bingham, LineGod12, Sorcerer Constantine, Hud Zaza, Convair, Michael De La Moore, and many more amazing people. Thank you all so much for watching this video and live life to the fullest.